Previously in part 1. So, you've watched all of part 1 of this 3-part series, beaten 0%, and spammed it till the cows come home. Now you're ready for another challenge. Gentle viewer, I present to you the Crom Bas 30% Guide. Welcome to part 2 of my Crom series. If you're a new player, new to combat, or new to Crom Bas and haven't already watched it, please check out part 1 before continuing further, since I laid out the absolute minimum you'll need to enter Crom Bas 0%, which isn't much, and thankfully for Crom Bas 30%, it still isn't much. In fact, we're going in with the exact same everything. If you can do 0%, you can do 30%. So, as I was saying, we're going in with the exact same everything. Every single thing you did and used in Crom 0%, you will use and do in Crom 30%. The main differences being, the map path will be a little different. Tankier, stronger monsters in both 7 and 8. And a faster, more tanky Irisan. What you'll get in return is better loot, and a higher chance at good enchants. Here's the map for 30%. The major difference being the last 3 circles, we will take the red circles as opposed to taking the green circles like we did in 0%. And finally, the loot. It's the same as 0%, except you get a little bit more gold, some more adamantine coins, a higher chance at good enchants, and a few viewers pointed out part 1 that the official site is incorrect, and all the enchants you see listed can drop from 0% as well. The difference being you have a higher chance for them to drop in 30%. If you're looking for an enchant, I'd say do 30%. And of course, the Grumpy Cat marbles. Same as 0%. They drop in 30. They should have a higher drop rate in 30, but I'm not too sure. So, without further ado, let's get into the run. So, like in 0%, I am running the exact same setup, using a Celtic Royal Staff, R5, and no gear, no enchants on the staff I guess would be, and no reforges. I'm using blanded weapons for my support, And I'm using Harmonic Saint for my Arcana for that extra 200 magic attack. I think I'm at 839 magic attack here, like in the first one, and it's a little bit more than what I asked for in the first one. The first one I asked a minimum of 600 to start this, which I still think is fine for 30%, so obviously you want as much as you can get, but this is sort of a way to experiment to see, you know, what is needed to clear this, and my guesstimation is 600. So try to get that. Try to get more than 600. We're entering the third spawn, so we're going to spin slash it. Like in the first one, you spin slash the Karis in order for them to not cast their aura, which buffs all the other enemies in the aura. Yeah, this is exactly like 0% up until room 6. Lithara just used Pulse of Purification. It's kind of a strange skill. Like, I think they nerfed it because it does good damage, but it knocks enemies back, it seems like. I think it's good if you have them shadowbound or frozen. Even maybe death-marked with Chaser, they stay put for a little bit, but they seem to get knocked back in Pulse. And for that reason alone, it's kind of an awkward skill to use. It does really good damage, I think. I've tried it in 100% a couple of times, but not exactly ideal to use all the time. For 0 and 30% though, I think it's fine to experiment with. I mean, up until room 6, we're just, you know, doing Oonga Boonga DPS with magic. So, I think you'll be fine. So we are now in room 3, which is just a regular spawn with a Wraith spawn in the second. You can see there I use Deathmark to Chaser again. And I'm going to get hit by a fireball, but back to the Deathmark Chaser thing. I think if you want to do mid to end game content, learning how to use Deathmark Chaser, I think, is one of the most important skills you can learn. And I don't mean just clicking Deathmark and then clicking Chaser. What you need to do is Deathmark an enemy, particularly an enemy that is sort of tanky, so it stays alive longer. And don't just click Chaser and scroll the area of effect over the crowd. What you want to do is Deathmark, click Chaser, and then click your action button, which for me it's E, the E on the keyboard. I don't know if that's default or not, but try it out. It should auto Chaser whatever enemy you are targeted on. That's not very often talked about, but yeah, using the action button in a huge crowd of enemies is really important if you want to learn crowd control. So we can skip this defense room. As always, whenever you can, get your Dorka. I think it's called Dorcha. I always say Dorka though. I don't know why. It's more fun to say Dorka, I guess. I guess now that I have like a moment, I should probably talk about what I have planned for the future. Obviously, I want to do a 100% Crom guide, which will pretty much entail 40% to 100%, because from 40% to 100%, they are all pretty much the exact same mechanics. So that's something that's in the works. I would like to also make a tech guide, the tech mission guide, from Feth missions to Kraken. Sort of in the same style as this, using minimum gear to show that you don't need a lot of gear to do it. It's very doable with basically everything I'm wearing right now, which is nothing. But having just a staff, I always see stave. Having a staff and the skills and the knowledge on how to complete the dungeon, I think that's really all you need. And hopefully I'll be able to prove that. I also wrote a talent guide that I want to turn into a video, which after writing it, it was like 20 pages long, and it's going to be a long video. But I think it would be worth it when it's finished, whenever that'll be. So, look forward to those things. I'm going to try to get them out as quick as I can, but I can't promise anything. So we are now in the 6th room, which is just a regular spawn and a wraith spawn. After this room is when we start going up floors. And the next room is the possession room, which I was kind of disappointed with in the first video, in part 1, because I was using, well, we were all using crystal deers, and we had Tiro, who's an elf, who could hide, walk the whole area. And I don't think that's very fair to someone that's brand new to expect them to have like a crystal deer. So I'm actually going to edit this video and put in a clip of us doing it without crystal deers and without elf hide. It should definitely be doable for a beginner. We're going to still be using blanded weapons, and, well, you'll just see. Check it out. So I kind of lied. I'm going to be using Celtic chain blade, but I'm using the blanded loot. So you can see here I use 2 stun pets, and I sleep the first mobs while Matcha goes and sleeps the second group of mods. And I go to the red circle, use Shadow Cloak, and walk. One of the Roanons didn't get slept, but they're not going to aggro me since I'm in Shadow Cloak. Matcha freezes the last remaining disciples because those can't be slept, surprising enough. And Matcha uses Shadow Cloak for the second and third red circles while I hit the Roanon and then Wind Blast it in. Now that that's complete, it's just a matter of getting the mobs into the shadow area. The Roanons will always run after you once they wake up, so just stay on the second shadow area, let them come in. The disciples don't unfreeze until we're done, so we can just go to them. Shadowbind to hold them in place, grab some Dorka, and I fuck up the jump because I'm that good at the game. Get some Gwalgoths. And at this point, it's literally just like before. We're just gathering, hoping not to get hit. I don't have any pets right now because I'm roared, but I think Matcha helps me out here. And yeah, this is probably what should have been in the first part of this 3-part series, but I don't know why I didn't have it. So here it is. So now you have a strat to use if you don't have Crystal Deer or any way to hide. So go ahead and take the left circle again. We're going to go up to 20%, and now we are in room 8, the hardest room of any version of Crom. I link up, like we do, and I immediately go into the center here, and Deathmark Chaser, to keep the center kind of together, and I go to the side and try to Wind Blast Disciple in, but he shooting rushed me, as Disciples like to do quite often. Like I said in 0%, in 30%, you just want to get everything into the center. Lothar uses Pulse with a Frozen Blast, no doubt, which keeps him in place. And Soul's actually chain slashering them in, which is also great. If you guys can coordinate to keep them in the Pulse, more power to you. It works. And as you just saw, it worked here. So I go to Wind Blast Slimes in, leaving 1, since the next spawn will be Akari Wraith spawn. That slime is kind of getting in. You just want to Wind Blast it out, and I think I do in like a few seconds here. Yeah, there we go. So everyone's getting prepared again. Getting into position. You should always wait for everyone to get into position. Take your time. Use the explosion timer to get yourself into place if you're the one killing. And there they go. Got wraithed off pet. Note the damage that I always take before I do anything in this room. Deathmark Chaser, as always. So I was going to use a meteor here, but I realized that I think it's Soul who's trying to prag a little bit, so I try to get Akari in closer, and Deathmark again. I see Tiro's loading a fire or a meteor, and didn't crit. A quick pulse, but that's what happens with Pulse, I guess, if you don't have them stuck in place. I think they're actually going to fix that. I know I talk about Pulse a lot this time around, but I believe we're getting a buff to some of those skills, and one of the buffs is you should be able to use Pulse even getting hit, kind of like you're in Iron Will. I'm not too sure, though. I've just heard rumors of that. But I think that's an update coming. I think also Harmonic Saint's getting some minor upgrades, like Hymn of Resurrection's not going to have a cooldown? Or not a cooldown, it's not going to have a load timer. It's quicker than it is now, so that should be good. But hopefully we get a couple more buffs to Harmonic Saint, because I think it's really good, but I think it could be better. Kind of like me using Fighter with Blanded Knuckles for some reason. Everyone else pulling their weight except for me. They get all the frozen carries, save 1, and I get frozen. So I'm pretty cool. Gonna try to kill that frozen Kari, actually, just so we don't have the debuff. You can see there, Soul is pragging, using, I think it's Fury of Light, I think that's what the skill's called, which you will need doing 40 to 100. We're going to get into that more when that video comes out in part 3. Definitely Demi and its accessories will be used a lot in those. And I would definitely say Fury of Light helps with gathering. If you Deathmark, Chaser group like we always do, and then use Fury of Light, definitely helps hit enemies so they stay together. Probably hits the Deathmarked guy quite a bit. so everything will be sucked into that. Theory of Light also works tremendously well when you're pragging. It's just a lot more hits you can use when doing Thunder or Flame Burst or Bullet Storm or what have you. So yeah, we are now on the boss. So I think I kind of fuck up here too. I don't know why. I kind of fucked up this run a lot. But it's still a good learning experience so you can see what a fuck up looks like. You can see there too, Soul has a spirit weapon. He has a spirit cylinder. So basically his rain cast takes half as long as mine would. So if you are going to run this quite a bit, you should probably also get Ego Cylinder. And there's a cool death. I'm getting stun locked by Thunder and then a red circle, which happens in this dungeon quite a bit. You know, that Hymn of Resurrection really helps too. Gets you right back on your feet pretty quick. There I was using a Phoenix though. It's a pet. If you don't know what a Phoenix does, it basically gives you a buff that if you die with the buff on, you get resurrected automatically. And I think it's like a 30-minute or an hour-long cooldown. I don't remember how long. The cooldown's kind of a while, but it's a good like insurance policy to have when running dungeons like this where you can't resurrect through a Now Stone or a balloon. You have to rely on others or a Phoenix or Defiance. So just like Zero, we will kill the Dark Karis and Melcy. Dark Karis, there's two of them. There goes one. I mean, there's really no strat to this part, the way we're doing it, except just get it done. What I would suggest is have someone prag Melcy and the two Dark Karis, which Lathara is doing right now with guns. If you are going to prag, which you inevitably should, you need to use Gunner and just spam hit. So Lathara was just spam hitting, and you can also use Bullet Storm. A great way to look at it is you get your prag up, you Bullet Storm, you hit Way of the Gun, and then you Bullet Storm again because of the reset from Way of the Gun. Again, barely got Cloud up, but got it up. Sacrificed myself for it, which is fine. People recognized and just got me up. Now it's just about DPSing Irisan. But first we gotta do a debuff. I used Breath of Ladeka, which is the human special at level 200 that you get, which gives you a little bit more movement speed, because you didn't already know humans are slow as fuck. It's kind of annoying. I wish that would be fixed, which they kind of have. I think in like... Yeah, I don't know what happened there. If someone could tell me, please tell me what happened there. Sometimes that happens. I think it has to deal with someone dropping aggro, but I don't think anyone dropped aggro there. It just happened. But yeah, I don't really know what oh yeah, Blanded, that's right. So in the Blanded quest line, I think you get like 5 or 8% speed increase. Yet another reason to do Blanded. So I think they've definitely kind of addressed it a little bit there. So we did do the cauldron, which I find easier. I don't know too many people that would argue with me saying doing cauldron is easier. I think just taking the form is better, because it's just a moment of being in the form. You can just run around, as opposed to running to the cauldron and have a chance of Irisan coming to attack you and leaving the small area. Basically what I'm saying is just don't do cauldron. Run around as the fun form for a while. So if you haven't noticed, which, you know, I can barely notice, but there is a definite, like, difference. Irisan is tankier and a little bit quicker in her attacks. So, like, when she teleports and attacks, it's slightly quicker. It's not much, but it's quicker. She only gets quicker as your Dark Erg increases. As in, like, at 100%, that teleport to attack. The teleport completes, and then she attacks is pretty much instant. As opposed to here, where you have, like, a good second and a half to get out of the way. So this is the hit check. Again, use your guns. Use your pets. Get it down. You can use a doll bag. Like, I'm using a maid right now to get those extra hits in with the doll bag. But you also yourself can use a doll bag instead of guns, and it summons those little lesser animals to hit. To do more hits. That's a definite viable thing to do. The problem with that, and it's something I just learned from a viewer, is if you have bag summons, like for the buffed, so like I guess some of the bags you can summon, and they bring like little miniature dudes. You see that like dude on Tiro, the Bar Daring doll? You can summon those with bags. You can't have those out if you use a doll bag. When you're doing the hit check. It's unfortunate, so that's why I don't use it. I use guns. Guns works, but I think those doll bags would be more efficient. It's just you have to desummon your dolls, which in like 100% I have mine out, and I don't want to do that because it's a lot of max damage and stats that I'd lose. Yeah, I think it's noticeable though. Like, you can definitely tell that Irisan is tankier, but she's also faster as I kite Irisan. I think Irisan was going in for a smash. So you can see there I run away when the teleport happens. I don't think I talked about that in the first run. When you see Irisan teleport, run away. If Irisan teleports to you, run the opposite direction of where Irisan was, like I did just now. Irisan will swipe you, and if you get hit by that swipe, you will be debuffed, and the second swipe will kill you. Fortunately, and this is another thing I did not talk about in 0%, is that in 0% to 80%, you can bandage yourself after being swiped, and you will recover. The debuff will disappear. That's something I forgot to add in the first part. I know there's a lot of information to get out there, so I think it just skipped my mind at that moment of making it. But Now you know now. So if you get debuff from a swipe, just use like a regular old bandage, and you should be good. So we're just under halfway now. Just like in Zero, we're DPSing. One thing we didn't use here, and I think it would have been better to use, is Paul. Paul is a debuff from the Harmonic Saint stuff. I think it's Paul of Ruination. I think that's the full name of it. I definitely think we should have utilized it more for more damage. And if you run this with your friends or are going to start trying to, I would suggest using it more. If you watch my 100% run, which I posted like a month ago, you can see us use it quite often, especially on bosses and on large groups that we're about to meteor. I think actually in this run, I use Paul at the end, like a little bit too late. From 0 to 30% though, if you're just running like we are with Celtic Royal Staves, I think Meteor, you need to use your Meteors whenever you have them up. In higher difficulties of this dungeon, on bosses, magic is just not viable to use on bosses. You have to use like Knuckles, Bow, Lance. The DPS is just not good with magic. I mean, I guess it works, but it's a lot better with like Knuckles. I mean, here it'd be a lot better with Knuckles. As you can see here, Thara and I use Time Shift, and so does Soul. I got hit by a laser though. And this is how we bring him down. We all just Time Shift. We could have staggered this better, I think. Here I'm using Paul. I use P. It's a great way to just quickly get out that, hey, I'm using Paul. Just type P or Pauled, so everyone knows to do damage, because it only lasts like 10 seconds. But yeah, that's 30% for you guys. Tune in next time for part 3, 100% Crom Bas.
Beak.